Alright guys, welcome back to some more MX versus ATV All Out. Today we are going to be checking out the 2020 version of RedBud. Now before we check out the 2020 version, I do want to take a look at the 2019 version here, which if you bought the 2019 AMA Pro Motocross National DLC last year, you would have had this version of RedBud. And I'm going to tell you here right away that the track itself, the overall free ride map of RedBud, is pretty much the same. The free ride map, as far as I could tell, didn't have any changes to it. The track has a few subtle changes to it, nothing crazy, but again, this is the 2019 version here we're going to take a look at first. And I tried to get probably what took me the longest to do this video, because I did remember the track from last year. What took me the most time to do was just to get the track to have the same time of day. Okay, so you have time of day for all these tracks that they introduced into the game, and it's kind of random because there's no option to choose what time of day it is, which is really unfortunate. I hope for a new MX vs. ATV game, if they decide to do the same time of day settings, that we can actually choose what time of day it is, so we don't just have to keep backing out of the game until we get the morning, afternoon, evening, you know, whatever time of day it is that you prefer. Hopefully we can have that, because I wanted to have the track have the same time of day so that the comparison is more similar. Now, I'm not sure they're exact, but they're pretty similar. They might be a little bit off, but both of them are during the day, and it's pretty similar. So here's another lap on the 2019 RedBud, just so you get it pretty solid in your head so you can see the differences. This section here is different in the new version of RedBud. The way the track is and how it's laid out is the same, but the texture of the dirt, and maybe it could be due to the time of day being ever so slightly different, but for the most part, that corner in particular is a bit different. They did improve some of the overall environment settings on the track, like they have some more water on the jump faces, and in between, like the first step up triple, there's some water there. And I feel like they reworked that corner that we just went through a tiny bit. Maybe it's I'm trying to find some changes that my brain thinks they did, even if they didn't, but it just feels like it's a bit smoother to actually get through that corner. But maybe I'm just making it up, even if it isn't that way. The rest of it, this corner for Larocco's Leap, I don't feel like it's any different. The triple feels a tiny bit more difficult to get in the new version, but I don't believe it is. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same distance. Everything's the same. I don't think they changed anything for Larocco's Leap, so we should be good there. And we are about to hop over into the 2020 version. And as you can see, the time of day is basically the same, if not the same. And I feel like the most noticeable changes are probably just the colors of the environment, the track, you know, all that stuff. But you can see there, you saw it a bit, and here you're gonna see it. This is the corner I was talking about. It feels like the corner is the same, but the way the dirt is a bit different. But it all feels the same. This step up triple here, you can see some water kind of in between it, which is really sick. You could actually see like the reflection of the sun kind of off the water as you go over it, which was really, really, really sweet. Just nice tiny details that it seems like they improved on. I remember in the first round of these replicas that we're getting, the 2019 ones, that they had like tear-offs on the jump faces and landings, which was pretty sweet. Kind of a small detail, but I do appreciate it. It feels like they did some of that stuff in the 2020 version to improve the overall experience on the track. But, I mean, the track isn't going to change if it didn't change in real life. I mean, I haven't seen RedBud since last year, so I really don't know if it did change. I highly doubt much did. So if nothing changed, I mean, obviously the 2020 version isn't going to change. So it's just, I guess the only unfortunate part I feel like to this specific replica, because some of them have changed a tiny bit. You know, if a certain track made a small adjustment, you know, that is going to be reflected in the 2020 version of the tracks here. But there you saw a bit of water to the side when we came out of that corner. Just small details like that. I just feel like it feels like if you bought the 2019 replica track pack, it just doesn't feel like you're getting... I mean, yeah, you're getting an updated, improved version of the track, but it just feels like if you already bought RedBud in 2019, it feels like you're getting the same thing in this track pack and no changes. It feels like you're paying for the same thing twice. So I wish that if some of these tracks didn't change at all, and I'm sure a bunch of them didn't really change much, we'll have to see when we get to the next track. If some of them didn't change very much, I wish there was a way that they could have discounted the price a tiny bit for people that might have bought the 2019 AMA Pro Motocross and National DLC last year. So it just didn't feel like you were paying for the same track twice. But for sure, this is the superior version of the track, even though the layout is the same. It has been improved, and I feel like they really are mastering building these replica tracks and putting in the details that make it feel real. I feel like they've been doing an insane job on all these replicas, and it's definitely a bit better, a bit more realistic than even the first go around they had with RedBud. But one thing to kind of combat, and I'll probably mention it again when we get to Unadilla because I want to use Unadilla as an example. It would be so sweet, okay? So let's say RedBud didn't really change much. I'm sure there'll be a few other tracks that didn't really change from last year, had very minimal changes. It would be really sweet if they would add in an alternate version of the track, similar to what they did with the 2019 Ironman and the 2018 Ironman. We got both of those tracks in the 2019 AMA Pro Motocross National DLC. It would be sweet if, for example, Unadilla, probably the same as last year. So how awesome would it be if they did like a throwback Unadilla where they made the track, you know, they got the new grass deformation, which I showed you at High Point. It would be so sweet if they gave us two versions of Unadilla, the current 2020 layout, and then they gave us like classic Unadilla, you know, where you get on the track and it's completely covered in grass. So kind of a throwback to how it used to be, where when those guys would show up at the track, it was covered in grass until after, you know, a few laps go by, obviously that grass is going to be torn up real quick. So it would be really cool to see that on some of the tracks. I know they might not be able to do it for every one, but it feel like you were getting a bit more for what you paid for instead of just getting a second exact track twice. And they could use that new sick grass deformation on a track. I don't know, it's just my opinion. I'm sure some people feel differently, but in my opinion, it's great to see an improved version of the 2019 tracks, but I know they can't really do anything if the track didn't change, but it just feels like, you know, I already had the track from 2019. It didn't really change, so, you know, why pay for the exact same thing? If at the very least, it would be nice if they sold it to where you could just buy the first half of the track pack. So you buy the tracks that you didn't have from last year, and then you could buy the first half of the season that we didn't have, or you could buy it as a whole, similar to what they're doing now if you didn't buy the 2019 track pack DLC. So that's just a few opinions I have. I guess it's really because I'm a big fan of Unadilla, and I want to see a completely grass-covered Unadilla track, especially since they have that new grass deformation. I want to see it in the works on a track, and it makes most sense to do it with Unadilla. So I don't know, just my opinion. I feel like they did a good job. I feel like this is definitely an improved version of RedBud. but I just wish some of those things I was saying could be an option. But for right now, this is what we got. We'll see if any of the other tracks have any changes to them or what differences they decided to do. But you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support on the channel lately. It really does mean a lot. And until the next video, take it easy.